This is Strange New Trek, a podcast about the life and times of Captain Christopher Pike. And now your hosts. Space. Sometimes I just can't make a joke about space if it's a serious episode. And this one's pretty serious. In many ways, this episode is an entire plot lift from Aliens, but overall, the homage works. I can see how many people would be confused or off-put by the Gorn and their life cycle, but to discuss that this week, I am joined by Commander Dog and our Chief Engineer, Chris Noonian Singh. What's happening, Chris?
Hey. I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's like 110 here today, so I'm kind of miserable, but I'm okay.
That's what you get for living in California.
Well, that's what I get for living in this part of California.
To be fair, I live in Virginia, so our weather's not that far off.
All right, but we are talking about All Those Who Wander. An episode, the penultimate episode of Strange New Worlds for this season. Chris, do you want to go ahead and jump right in with the cadet's personal log?
Cadet's personal log, stardate 2510.6. My assignment to Enterprise is over. After we complete our current mission, delivering Vidium power cells to Deep Space Station K7, I go back to Earth. I'm excited to see my grandmother. Our last call was cut short. Life on a starship has a way of taking over. I rotated through almost every department. So many amazing, talented people. The top everyone of everything. They all know why they belong in Starfleet. For them, Starfleet has always been the destination. For me, it was where I ran after the loss of my parents. Serving aboard Enterprise is an affirmation of this entire crew's hopes and dreams. I envy their surety. But me? I guess I'm still searching.
Yep. So, it sounds like Uhura's going to bail out, and that's where we're headed there. You're right. When they do things with her like this, it's hard to keep out of mind that we then watch her for the next 40 years, you know?
Yeah, it's so annoying that they do that. I mean, to be fair, maybe she gets assigned to something else before coming back to the Enterprise. So that's fair. That's fair. So I take this better than like when you put her in a life and death situation.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, there's 7 years till Kirk takes over, so she could totally go serve on a different ship.
And plus, like I have heard through the Facebook grapevine lately that basically people assume that this takes place in an alternate universe, which I don't necessarily agree with that, but
it doesn't.
I assume when this season is over, we will have a long conversation about all of that.
Yeah, it doesn't. But yeah, you know what? I think that's like the next episode we should actually do when we're done, you know?
Yeah.
Is its place, you know?
Yeah, agreed.
That is a pet peeve I have that just every time I see that come up, or when I see somebody reference how J.J. Abrams and Discovery, who has nothing to do with it. But, you know, we'll save all that. We'll come back to it.
Yeah. J.J. Abrams is the alternate timeline. This is
Prime.
Prime, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Captain Pike addresses the gathering of the crew in his quarters for the big send-off, congratulating cadets Chia and Uhura for completing their training rotation aboard the Enterprise. He commends them both as exemplary members of the crew, and both are dedicated and hardworking. They had seen and survived things together and were bonded now and forever as Starfleet family. He then calls Ensign Duke, which, what a great name is that, you know? I'm Ensign Duke. In front and center, where he receives a promotion to lieutenant. Una hands him his new badging and stripes and stuff. Uhura keeps her distance from the gathering, and Ortegas notices this. And she kind of like, after all this time, you're still going to be like this. And, you know, we still get the sense that Uhura is alienated from or does not want to get too close to the crew here.
Alienated. I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say I have that word underlined in my script here, but... Pike approaches and asks if she hasn't decided to stay on yet, letting her know that there will always be a place for her on the Enterprise. Then Spock calls from the bridge to inform the captain that there is an incoming Priority 1 message from Starfleet Command. Pike asks where La'an is, and Una explains that, you know, she's got a little personal health time. being very delicate about bringing up therapy. The captain decides to catch her up later and asks for the science and medical to be assembled for the incoming briefing.
So let's just stop here for a second. I really like this scene because I had a commander coming up in the military that was kind of like this, that just made you feel like you were part of something. Every time he addressed us, you know, he was the type of commander that could make you think if you ran into a gun battle with a fork, you would win.
Yeah.
And I felt like this is not a full-blown Pike-spirational speech, but it's almost there.
No, it's working on it. It's trying to get there, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost to a Pike-spirational speech. And I appreciated that about this scene. Yeah, it was really nice, actually.
Hey, what are you doing, dog?
She agrees. Thanks, Commander.
Yeah, Commander Dog. So Pike is cleaning up after the party, while Una insists that they had to send somebody else on this Priority 1 mission. Pike replies that there's not somebody else to send. You know, real quick here, I want to point out that they're headed to Space Station Deep Space K7, right?
Yeah.
That is the Deep Space Station from Trouble with Tribbles. And it would have been kind of cool if we had got to see it.
I'm actually fine that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, because they went all the way up to the line, but didn't cross it, and I appreciate that this time.
You know, I don't want them revisiting every single thing from Star Trek. I keep seeing people saying, oh, Harry Mudd, and I don't know, do your own thing, be your own show.
No, Discovery's portrayal of Mudd, like, if that's the last time we see that man, like, that's perfect. I
was cool with Rainn Wilson as Mudd, and I don't, while it would be fun to see again, I don't need Star Trek to be so self-referential week after week after week.
I mean, to be fair, Strange New Worlds has been almost nothing but that, so
it would
not surprise me.
But it goes right up to the line, though. It kind of goes up to a point where I'm comfortable with it, but another step, and I probably wouldn't be so happy with it, you know?
Yeah, and that's fair, because listeners don't know this, but several times we have had long, drawn-out conversations about canon on the show, but every time we get into it, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to cut this out, because it does get right up to the line, but as of yet, it doesn't cross it yet.
It hasn't crossed it. It hasn't been egregious at this point.
So, all this complaining I just did for the last 20 minutes is not really necessary.
So, you know, this is another one of those spots where Pike, have we decided these are his quarters with the giant kitchen and the full waterworks and everything in it, right?
And then the whole flamey, I don't know, was that a futuristic fireplace he has in there?
Yeah. So I did some gymnastics in my own head, right? But under Pike, I believe the crew of the Enterprise is 203 people.
Yeah.
Under Kirk, it's 433.
Are you sure? Because I remember early on, well, I take that back. I think what I'm thinking about is when we did the episode on Star Trek and that's the compliment that is referenced in that document. Now, whatever it was in TOS, I don't know. So I assume that's what you're referencing. But if you're talking about the 200-ish people, that was definitely referenced in the original, like, pitch document, I believe.
And Pike, when he's talking to Dr. Boyce over his medical martini, even says, you know, I'm tired of being responsible for 203 lives.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, like, they don't drastically alter spaces even between overhauls. So I don't know about that. Just because the Enterprise of TOS is 400-ish and the 100 Pike is 200-ish, I do know a little bit about ship overhaul, and they don't do that.
No, they don't do that now. But don't you think
maybe
that maybe
in the future,
maybe the command crew in the future get slightly larger quarters? They try to make it more comfortable, but then eventually they have to cram more people on the ship, so you lose some space.
I mean, I could see the gymnastics you're going through, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't know about it.
Well, it makes more sense than all the other stuff where, it's just because it's not in the Prime universe and it breaks canon. You know, that's the answer I keep seeing.
I mean, we didn't see a whole. I mean, there was obviously times where you saw Kirk's quarters, but not anywhere to the extent that you see Pike's.
No. Also, you know, the original Star Trek was made for like $1.45 and shoestring an episode, and this actually has a full budget. Let's see here. Let's get back into the episode, and then we can deviate and talk about something else again. Okay, Spike says that they don't have anybody else to send on the mission. Leanne shows up, says she's not hungry, but Una insists that she try the omelets and bacon, and then the waffles, and Benga says, I actually like that little saber. It's like, oh yeah, and this, and they keep piling stuff on her plate. I'm not hungry, and then she's got this huge plate of food. The ship that they are talking about is the Peregrine, and it may have been destroyed on impact. It crashed on a planet. Spock expresses the belief that the planet's surface is blocking the signal, so they can't really tell. Leanne notes that the Peregrine is a Sombra-class ship, and Bingo recalls serving on one, and says that it uses the same parts as the Constitution class. And this is one of those spots where I feel like we need to pull a quick aside again.
It looks exactly like a Constitution class.
Exactly like it.
I mean, maybe the interior is a little different because you don't get a good sense of what the interior looks like. But if you're just going external, they had I mean, you do see it kind of wrecked on the planet in the beginning, but at the end, you see it in all its glory, and it definitely looks like a clone of the Enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I heard people writing, or saw people writing, oh, it's smaller, it's like half the size. Well, it's not, because they do a side-by-side instead of that weird shot where it's the forced perspective from the front.
Yeah.
And if it was half the size, then those aren't the same parts as the Constitution class.
For sure.
So, I don't know. I mean, maybe the inside is drastically different. It didn't look like it to me. Now, I do know that they say it's got a crew of 99. So, I mean, that does hint that there could be something severely different. I just didn't see anything.
Now, it could be like modern ships and submarines where like the Enterprise has like 4 nuclear reactors while the Nimitz class has like 2, but they kind of look similar.
Oh, well, so Mbinga says that the Peregrine or that the Sombra class are fast. So he could be hinting at a different engine setup.
Yeah, plus like even across the Nimitz class, take for instance like I already said, the Eisenhower or like the Bush, there are some visual, a little bit of visual differences. Like the Eisenhower has a different mast setup than some of the other ships. I feel like they're around the same size. I could be a little off on that, but not much, I don't think. So yeah, I'm tracking, but to be fair, when you see the shot of the ships like at the end, they pretty much look the same. There's not much visual difference. I meant.
Like it was the same bridge set, which look, I get, that's a money saving thing. I get that. The exterior models were identical from what I could see. But if they do make a point that these ships are like super fast, like that's their thing, maybe the reduced crew and maybe a different, I don't know, set of not warp drives, but impulse drives or something. I guess that would be a different class, wouldn't it?
Oh, that could mean that it's like a bit more stripped down, which would necessitate less crew.
Cut the weight back quite a bit. Things you can do.
I got you.
No, because you know what? Actually talking that through with you makes me less critical of that entire setup there.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, so they send down a team, and it's going to be Kirk, Duke, Chapel, Chia, Uhura, Himmer, Leanne, and Una, right? She's with them, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. They all head down to the planet, and Leanne is on point for Pike and Mbinga. The doctor's scans indicate the Peregrine landed in a chasm. They detect no life signs.
The outside shot of the ship here is really cool looking.
Yeah, because we've never seen like a Constitution-looking class ship down on the surface of a planet like this. So, Leanne points out, hey, you guys might not be scanning a problem, but she's like standing in the middle of a bloodied corpse buried in the snow. So, we can see some things have gone wrong here.
No, not at all. What do you mean?
Not one bit. As they approach the Peregrine, they open the airlocks of the ship, and, ice begins to quickly fill the ship. Pike asks Himmer if he can get the power up and going. Somehow they come across the fact that the crew of the Peregrine was 99. And Binga determines that most of the crew of the Peregrine had died from hypothermia. Their environmental suits had been shredded. And La'an points out that some of the crew have been picked apart, possibly by local wildlife. Hint, hint. Pike orders the team to recover the ship's logs. Uhura brings up the ship's logs, but she's only able to get audio from it. The log entry is by Captain Gavin, reporting that the Peregrine was mapping non-Federation space when they picked up 3 castaways on a Class M planet, a human girl, a humanoid of unknown origin, and an Orion named Pasco. A couple things went down. For some reason, Passcode set off a plasma grenade. So, they're kind of getting some sense that there's some things going on here. Maybe these three accidentally brought something on board the ship with them. Pike has Spock and M'Benga gather the rest of the crew. I believe this is where they begin to suspect that they're dealing with the Gorn here, because they start asking Leanne what she wants to do. And she says she wants to kill the Gorn, but would settle for finding any survivors and getting off the planet. I think that's probably the wiser move.
It is, man, but as much as she acts like she's not super emotional in the moment, I could see her doing something different. Now, to be fair, she did all she could do in this one to do what she said here, but I could see under other circumstances where she'd like Rambo it up and just be like, nah, we out here. I'm gonna take out all these folks.
Well, obsession is a real common story in Star Trek. The Doomsday Machines, Commander Decker or Commodore Decker, and his single-minded approach to going after and trying to find a way to kill an unkillable machine. Khan and his single-minded hunt for Kirk in The Wrath of Khan. Picard and his hunt for the Borg in First Contact. Obsession is very much a revisited story in Star Trek.
It's just a revisited Moby Dick, to be fair.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. In every one of those stories, there are more and more elements that you can pick out as you go that are actual references to Moby Dick. They begin investigating the wrecked corridors of the Peregrine, and they discover another badly mangled body. Uhura's bothered by it, but hurries to catch up to the captain. Reaching an open doorway, they hear a clattering noise within. They see the shadow of movement and what appears to be firelight coming from the room. As they approach, a blue-skinned humanoid steps through the door, menacing them with some kind of stick, and speaking a language that they don't understand. La'an tells Uhura to do something. And
That's not how linguistics work. Here we go.
Yep. Been waiting for that line the whole season.
Yep, and it's finally here, second to the last episode of the whole season.
Yeah,
finally get it.
Oh, man. At some point during all of this, Lieutenant Duke gets burned, and he sends Spock to get him some medical treatment supplies. And so Spock runs off to a blood-covered sickbay to do this. He doesn't see the logic in going himself to do it. Chapel replies that he's trying to act tough since he was just promoted. Chapel brings up Vulcans and their hidden primal nature, and Spock concedes that the Vulcan emotions are dangerous and without proper mindfulness, but they use logic to keep them at bay. Chapel reminds him that it's good to get mad sometimes. Apparently she's never seen Spock with a murder boner before.
Yeah, this is another time where they step right to the line, especially later. And I will have more to say about that later.
Yes. I think I know what you're talking about, and I agree. Uhura remarks on how much she'll miss Hemmer when she leaves the ship. She's thinking back to their time together on Phoenix 3 when they talked about their life paths. And he kind of asked her what her life mission was. And she hasn't really thought about it, hasn't really put a lot of effort into it. And he asked her if she considers staying in Starfleet to just be coasting. And she really doesn't know how to answer the question.
Well, I mean, because that's what she basically says, though, here. She's like, I've been coasting. And he's like, you serious? You were in Starfleet. Like, that's not coasting.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's kind of the direction that it's coming from. That's kind of what she's making it sound like.
Not to bring up my military service again, but it reminds me of on evaluations every year. One of the sections is like your volunteer work. And I'm like, I volunteered to be in the military. Is that not enough? I got to do other things too.
There's not a draft anymore, right, guys?
Yeah, so it's weird that she would act like that's just coasting. Which, I mean, to a degree, I guess I understand it, because when I went in, I guess it was because of this similar thing. Like, I was just kind of going with the flow, not really planning nothing. That's just where I happened to end up, because I didn't want to go to college and all that stuff. So I guess I could see her point a little bit. I definitely felt in my first couple years that that's what I had done. So I can understand her coasting statement.
Sure.
Here.
Especially for her, because it wasn't like she joined Starfleet because that's what she had always wanted to do. She was trying to get away from home. because she just lost her entire family.
Well, I didn't lose my entire family, but I did the same thing.
Yeah, not everybody has to have Batman's backstory, you know. We cut back to sickbay, and Binga and Chapel examine the castaways. And there's a little girl there named Oriana, but she's really Newt from Aliens. And while she refers to their companion as, she refers to the big blue companion as Buckley. She asks if they're getting out of there. Lan enters and starts chewing out a little kid.
Oh yeah, I thought Lan here, was a little bit over the top, but also I guess you can kind of understand it. Lan recognizes the threat and is taking no stuff from anybody.
Oh, she's not going to take any chances. So in Binga, and I kind of like this, and I kind of didn't like what they did here.
It was a weird line, man.
It was. I mean, I could see where it was coming from, but he also strikes me as a guy who'd be more conscious of where it was coming from, you know? And Binga shuts her down and tells her to leave his daughter alone before he realizes what he's done and switches it to patient. But Binga doesn't strike me as somebody that's that off the hip.
Yeah, even my wife who hasn't, I mean, she's been watching it with me a little bit, but lately I've been watching it at my computer, so she can't normally see a whole lot of it. But even she, when this scene was on, she was like, his daughter.
Yeah, it just,
what?
I mean, you didn't have to say that and I would have got what you were doing, you know? And I think most people would have.
Yeah.
I believe he tells her to be patient and to be useful somewhere else at that point.
Yeah.
Back in the chief medical officer's office, Pike has conducted scans and has determined the ship was clean, and what happened outside seemed to be the end of it. Well, so they haven't quite pointed it out yet, but what they're doing is they're scanning for more alien/Gorn incursions, and they're not finding them, but I think we're going to find out that that's not really worthwhile.
Yep.
Leanne sees that Oriana was reported missing 2 years earlier and thinks the 3 castaways were survivors of a breeding planet. Comms are down, but Pike knows they can still do a security sweep. He points out that Oriana was in a place few people could understand, and that, like Leanne, she had a chance to grow beyond the pain. She just needs somebody to help her see the light, Binga says. Spock sweeps the deck. He hears something moving. Walking through a nearby door, he finds a trail of blood across the floor, following it to a tear in the hull leading to the outside. As he kneels to investigate, he jumps up as a hand touches his shoulder. And it's Pike.
I jumped.
Yeah. It was a cheap jump scare, but it was effective, you know?
I should have seen it coming, but I didn't.
They should have just had a cat go through a window or something, you know? You and I have seen enough horror films that that shouldn't have got either one of us, but you know, there you go.
Yep. I didn't see it coming.
Yep. The doctor's amused that Spock is so jumpy, and he takes the supplies that were intended for Duke. Spock continues to look around quite worriedly. In sickbay, Buckley has had a severely labored breathing and an elevated heart rate. Chapel notes unusual reddish vein-like protrusions across his body. Seeing his distressed state, Oriana knows something's coming and quickly hides behind the nearby wall, putting her hands over her mouth to cover her breathing. Chia is working under the biobed to calibrate it for a physical. Buckley begins screaming in agony as a creature begins to burst from his skin.
Man, I was like, are they really doing this?
Yes, they are.
I mean, at least I guess it was 4 instead of 1, but alien.
Oh, absolutely. No, this whole thing is very much aliens. We don't know how baby Gorn are born. Hell, we don't even know if these are actually the Gorn, you know what I mean?
I don't know about that because Lon seems like she recognizes it for what it is. I don't know if we could say that this might not be the Gorn. I'm pretty sure it is. And it seems like from all the reactions Lon has that this is how they're born.
Yeah, but Chris, let me remind you, as Americans, when this area was first found, the natives were called Indians because the people who found them thought they were in India.
Yeah.
So you could have 2 different reptilian species out there, one who are the Gorn and one who everybody thinks is the Gorn. You know, I'm just saying we haven't gotten there yet. We don't quite know what's going on. So there's a thing, like, I don't know if you've done any looking around, but the Gorn, according to the people who did the original, like, Star Trek role-playing games and stuff, the Gorn were actually like 5 different species in one government. And there's a lot of room for stuff that could be different here, you know. I'm just saying that we don't have a clear picture of the Gorn and their history. So we don't know if, like, this is, you know, is this the only way they breed, or there's some that lay eggs? Is there more than one species? You know.
That's fair.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things going on here. Now, I'm probably giving them way too much room to run with this. You know, odds are that, you know, this is the Gorn and this is how they all have babies. But I'm just saying, we don't know for sure.
All right, I'll give you that.
The hatchlings leap out and slash right through the cadet's throat, ending Lieutenant Chia's head, or pet, or something. Killing Chia.
Man, just as she made another rank.
Yep. And she was going to retire in 2 weeks, too. Just gotten married. As the hatchlings run through sickbay, Chapel quickly leaps up onto a biobed and activates a containment field. Meanwhile, Mbinga is treating Duke's burn wound. Kirk remarks on how lucky he was as the conduits in the Jeffries tubes had been in full current. Mbinga says that, yeah, if things had been any worse, he could be amputating right now. And just then, 2 hatchlings leap down the Jeffries tube and tear into Duke. Oh, lucky Duke. Pike calls for Kirk to hold them so he can shoot them off without hitting the lieutenant. Oh, God, that is...
Even this scene right here. Look, man, I'm going to be honest.
Yes.
I've never seen a whole lot of the Alien movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I know this scene exists somewhere in the canon of Alien where a body is dragged bloody and screaming down a corridor.
Very similar, yes. So far, these little hatchlings we've seen, they come out, they're tiny and they're white, but they're apparently as strong as an ant, you know, like proportionately.
Yeah, and plus Lon remarks that, you know, the 4 hatch out, but like, they immediately start fighting each other for dominance.
Yes.
And like, I think she said like, 2 would be killed initially, and then, you know, you got the alpha or whatever. So they're taking a view on the Gorn of like, how people think of wolves, which is actually not really true.
No, this is something similar to what I have heard from somebody that Tasmanian devils do. Is that their young start attacking each other in the pouch. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just something I heard once years ago, you know. But, yeah, this shows that these little Gorn critters are some nasty, nasty little suckers. So, yeah. So Pike's trying to shoot these little guys off of Duke, but, I don't think it's going so well. Chapel urgently whispers for Oriana as she deactivates the shield and gingerly makes her way across the room. She's startled by the movement behind her, only to find Lon there. Lots of jump scares in this one, folks. Cheap jump scares all the way around. So we get a discussion here about how the Gorn life cycle works. They age and mature depending on what life form they were incubated in.
Yeah, that's super odd.
Yeah. So it's kind of like Alien in that, you know, depending on what incubated their egg, that kind of determined their morphology, like what came out. Was it dog-like? Was it human-like? Whatever.
Is it like that in Alien?
Yeah, they're like that. You know, depending on what they're in, the offspring come out a little bit different because they take some of the genetic material of the egg holder or the egg maturing, the incubator, I guess is what it would be.
I mean, I guess on some level that sort of makes sense. Cool. I'm with it.
Yeah, so these Gorn, apparently, that's how they do this. I believe they said it was like Orions was it 2 weeks, and then humans were like hours or something. So Chapel finds Oriana hiding behind a crate and assures her that they're going to keep her safe. And then Lon points out that she was safe because she knew the Gorn hate the cold, and she'd found her way to the coldest part of the ship. So we're kind of reinforcing that this poor girl has been at the receiving end of Gorn attacks for quite some time. In engineering, Hammer and Uhura have completed their repairs, with the cadet marketing a victory for Team Himura. I hate when people put names together like that.
No, but here I enjoy it.
Give it a little room because I like them as a pair.
Plus, Uhura knows how to press Hemmer's buttons a little bit, and I think that's some of it.
Yeah. Well, no, you know what? I like them as a duo. I think they're great. They work together really well as a duo. So Hemmer's not quite sure what's going on, but he can smell human blood at this point. Pike is glad to see Hemmer has made progress as the power comes back up. Fake Kirk expresses the belief that if they stayed inside the ship, they would be lizard chow, and thinks they should start making a run for their shuttles.
Yeah, at this point, Kirk is like freaking the heck out, man.
Yeah. He reminds me at different points in here, he's like the Bill Paxton character in Aliens. You know, game over, man, game over. And also he kind of reminds me, and we haven't gotten there yet, but he and Spock kind of get into a tangle where he seems like Dr. McCoy's more racist cousin for a second.
That is true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
The whole situation with Kirk in this episode is kind of weird.
Yeah, he doesn't come across very Kirkish. Now, I know this isn't James T. Kirk, but yeah. So, M'Benga suggests that they give Kirk a sedative, but Pike's like, no, he'll be fine. He's okay. He's stronger than he looks. It'll be all right, you know. Anybody with a mustache like that, they got to be pretty tough. Back in engineering, one of the Gorn hatchlings leaps through, only to be killed and devoured by one of the other, much larger Gorn.
Yeah, what the heck is that all about? Like, they grew like 10 times the size in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I think, what she was hinting at by saying, depending on what they gestated in, their life cycle actually changed, you know? This is one of those points where on Twitter at this point, right after this episode came out, somebody put in there how these Gorn were proof that Strange New Worlds did not take place in the Prime Universe, and they needed to just admit it. And I responded by saying the Prime Universe is whatever Paramount says it is, but I do know that with as much explored and how well known everything is about the Gorn, I can see where you're coming from. They're the cornerstone of Star Trek like they are. Because we don't know anything about them. But I digress.
They pop up in Enterprise, right?
They're in a mirror universe episode for one fight scene. One of them for one fight scene.
Well, it's a mirror episode, so it doesn't count.
Well, I mean, it should be the same species.
Yeah, but I mean, everything happens different, so you can make that argument that it's, you know, things develop a little different over there.
Yep. But yeah, so really all we've ever seen of the Gorn is the one Gorn in Arena.
In the rubber suit.
Well, I'm starting to think might have been like 130 years old. Really bad arthritis.
Oh, yeah.
Hammer senses the Gorn looking towards Uhura and pushes her out of the way as it does a full spit take on her. And he takes the brunt of the attack himself.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it reminds me of that scene where the guy with the shaving cream can is trying to escape the island in the first one, and, you know, his truck gets stuck. He's like, oh, hey, little guy. and then it, you know, it does its thing and spits all over him, that acidic stuff.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this reminded me of. I'm like, are you serious? We went from Alien, there's some Predator stuff in here, and now we're at Jurassic Park. Cool.
Oh, yeah, because they have the heat tracking vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me of Predator.
Yeah, I forgot about that, because you're getting like all the major alien, like, murderous species coming through this one, you know?
Yeah, all the reptilian references, like, all combined into one species.
Yeah. And
then I guess, like, Godzilla of old from the original series, a guy in a rubber suit, so we got it all.
Yeah, you got it all covered in there. So a phaser shot from Lon nearly misses the Gorn and makes it retreat. All right, so M'Benga consults the Peregrine's medical logs, showing post-mortem of one of the Gorn. Spock notes the Gorn's genetic makeup allowed them to hide from the sensors, which is why M'Benga had not detected the eggs inside of Buckley. However, he does know the incubation cycle of the Gorn depend on the species. With Orions, it took weeks, with humans, days. So there's that difference in there.
Plus, that blue guy is an unknown species.
Right, so we'd have no idea what he's doing. Hammer enters at that moment, confirming this and saying it burned quite tremendously, the spray he took there. Pike knows that Hammer has rules about telepathy, but wonders if that applies to enemies who are trying to eat them. Spock makes a statement that he considers their the Gorn to be rather impressive with their genetic coding and everything. Kirk kind of loses his stuff right here. He starts calling him names that would make McCoy blush in a few years.
Pointy-eared computer.
Yep. He reminds them that they watched Duke get killed and eaten basically right in front of them by these things. There's the pointy-eared computer line. Pike puts an end to the argument and tries to focus them back on the mission. Hemmer reports that the navigation systems are the only thing left to restore, meaning their mission was more or less complete. Pike sees the crew's ability to work together as an advantage. And Binga points out that the younglings were too fast to hunt, so they needed to create a choke point to trap them. How many are still running around at this point? 2 or 3?
I think 2. But again, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, so like a pack of raptors.
Yeah.
From Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Both Lan and Spock concur, calling it to be a very logical move. The Gorn avoid the cold, so Lan suggests using environment controls to draw the Gorn to somewhere where they wanted them. And Pike approves of this, puts the crew to work. Pike and Mbinga, one of them with Ariana on his back, enter the Peregrine's bridge, the doctor depositing his patient in the captain's chair. The temperature begins to decrease across the ship, except for the warm oasis in one of the cargo bays where Spock and Hemmer are waiting. Spock asks Hemmer if he's okay. Elsewhere, Chapel asks if Lan is all right, and the security chief replies that there was nothing else she wanted to do than fight against the Gorn. She fires off a shot to attract its attention and breaks into a run. Kirk remarks how Uhura is really good at everything, and I like that they did this here, because they didn't really point it out in the old show, but, you would see scenes where Uhura was, under the computer setups on the bridge of the Enterprise and underneath and soldering wires and circuits back into place and making repairs. And they never really pointed out that she was an all-around skilled member of the crew who didn't just look good in a miniskirt.
To be fair, though, there's the old adage of, show, don't tell. So it showed you that Uhura was a badass at everything. It just didn't specifically say it until now.
Yeah. But I just like that they did here kind of give credit where it's due. But yeah, you're right. When you're writing, you do want to show, not tell. That being said, I like that they're taking these characters that were kind of background characters and actually giving them their props.
Yeah.
Pike detects that it's going into the vent system, it being the Gorn, and warns Spock, who is armed with Buckley's stun stick. Spock lets loose several bursts to try to get its attention, but it does not respond. Spock takes a moment to think of seeing Duke being pulled screaming down the corridor and kind of does a weird reverse meditation to, instead of handle his rage, to accept it and move it through and work with it. And then he gets a murder boner again, because Spock is real susceptible to those these days. They get the 2 Gorn trapped, so they begin turning on each other. Lan tells Hemmer that she is coming his way and steps back into the corridor. She tosses aside her phaser and begins shouting a challenge to the Gorn, saying that she was unarmed and demanding that it come at her and fight, one-on-one, mano-a-mano, like Batman versus the Joker at the end of the old Adam West series, The Gorn begins charging at her, and Lan breaks off running towards the cargo bay. Hemmer has secured himself in a cargo pod while Lan leaps into another and closes the hatch. As the Gorn tries to break through the glass door, she shouts at Hemmer to act, and the chief engineer activates the environmental protocol, blasting the Gorn with super cold air. Lan emerges from the ice-encased pod and finds the Gorn frozen solid and smashes it to pieces with looks like an iron bar. I'm guessing it was an iron bar or something. They're all busy congratulating themselves on how, hey, we're all done and everything's cool now, and we're all, all the Gorn are defeated. And, Lan's not really. And Hemmer's hey guys, I think I'm just gonna walk outside. And
yeah,
now I think for the first time that they show it on screen, Spock sees the Kobayashi Maru. This is where Lan clears up for sure that acid spray is how the Gorn reproduce. And Hemmer knows that he is full of little baby Gorn.
Yeah, this was I don't know, man. I was watching this, and, not gonna lie, had some tears come to my eyes over this.
Yeah. No, it was kind of a powerful scene. It didn't come out of nowhere, but it did sneak up on you.
Yeah, and I mean, Hemmer's wasn't around for every episode this season, but the sting of his loss was palpable.
Yeah. Well, and he was a character, I do remember every time we've talked about him, you like this character. He reminds you of people you know.
Yeah. The crusty old maintenance guy.
Yeah. Spock calls it a logical conclusion, and Hemmer raises his hand in the Vulcan salute. Hemmer offers Uhura one last piece of advice to open herself up and make a home amongst others, and she'll find more joy in that than sadness. As they are forced to watch, Hemmer walks outside the cargo bay, and he points out that it's just like Andoria, he says a couple times, turns his back, and then plunges down into a ravine. And that was a hell of a shot, too, how they did that from that distance, and just like he was just this little falling spot coming out of the back of the ship.
Yeah, so I have seen that the showrunners intend on trying to bring him back somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought was like, okay, he's going to go outside, maybe lay down in the snow. That's how they're going to get him back. Like, okay, we're good here. Like, everything's fine. But then you see him drop off the cliff. And you're like,
a full Pepsi plunge.
How the heck are they going to get him back from that?
Yeah.
That seems rather final.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the vagaries of the Einar, maybe they're all twins or something. I don't know. But I'll tell you, this made me think of Culber, though, right off the bat. And I was like, oh, okay. With Culber, I was like, oh, yeah, kill the gay guy, just kill him. And then this, oh, you got a blind actor on the show, huh? Well, let's kill his character.
Well, to be fair, they'd already run through the cadets and ensigns and stuff. So,
well, this is true.
None of the other ones are going to die. So I guess it was up to him to take that fall, literally and metaphorically.
Nope, it's true. This is the third time Star Trek has killed a main cast member in the first season. The first being Tasha Yar. The second being the security chief on Lower Decks. I don't remember the character's name on there because I haven't really watched that real carefully.
Tasha Yar was terrible.
She was. But I'll tell you what, Tasha Yar's death is actually what made me pay attention to The Next Generation. Because I was just like, holy cow, anything can happen on this show,
Yep.
All right, so as we move along in the story here, the Enterprise leaves the orbit of Vallejo Beta 5. The Peregrine is now in tow behind it. It looks exactly like a Constitution class again, but we did cover how that may not matter. A memorial service is being held for the 3 lost crewmen. I liked Ortegas' speech here. Or not speech, but her little thing that she's saying. She's talking about how she hated funerals and that if Hemmer were there, he would remind them that it was a celebration, exalt the fallen, and commit them to the cosmos. Then he would have scolded Ortegas for pushing the engines too hard. She would have called him the Blue Meanie.
Are they making a Beatles reference here?
Yes, they are.
Yellow Submarine.
Yep, that's it. And they'd laugh, and then it wouldn't have felt like a funeral. She calls him the best engineer she ever served with. Uhura admits that she never told him or this, but he reminded her of her father, always pushing her to see things from a new perspective. As she speaks, Chapel looks over and sees Spock clenching his hands in a fist. Let's see, the people you love most can cause you to the most pain, but it's the people you love that can mend your heart when you feel broken, Uhura says, adding that this was what Hemmer's purpose was, to fix what was broken. And he did. Spock abruptly leaves and Chapel follows. Chapel sees Spock punching one of the walls in the corridor, badly denting it. When she tries to get him to tell her what's wrong, I don't know why she wouldn't know, he warns her not to follow him. Then he grabs her by the wrist and then realizes what he's doing. And he admits that he's letting out all his rage and pain and no longer has any control of it, saying that his mind was weak. Chapel disagrees and says it's because he's human. Then they hug and then they make puppy dog eyes at each other and then Spock walks away.
Yeah, I thought we was about to get another a kiss between them two.
Yep. I thought that's where it was headed.
This whole scene just reminded me of, when he's going back to see T'Pring in the original series. He gets super mad and, I don't know, takes it out at least a little bit on Chapel there.
Oh, yeah. You know, it also reminded me of the scene in 2009 where Spock has just found out, you know, the planet Vulcan has been destroyed and his entire family's dead except Sarek. And Uhura corners him and, you know, okay, what do you need from us, as he's trying to teeter back and forth and keep his emotions in check.
Yeah, I mean, I fail to see the point of this scene.
I think they're just setting up some hanky-panky for season 2.
You think?
I think so, yeah. Because, I mean, if you give them a couple roles in the Vulcan hay, so to speak, it makes her character, while not super shallow and empty in the original series, it does add some reason why.
So what's your theory that in addition to the kiss that they had a couple episodes ago, maybe they go a little further?
Oh, I think they're going to play, hide the Felter pan in the bedsheet.
And then Spock kind of pushes her back to arm's length. That's
what I think.
That'd be really terrible if that's what happened. I hope not.
It'd be really human if that's what happened too, though.
Well, I don't know.
But, you know, charity begins at home and adultery begins at the office. In Pike's quarters, La'an reports that she has found a lead on Oriana's family, one that she admits is weak, also outside the Federation. Pike can see that she's going to pursue it anyways. La'an admits that she knows what it was like to be alone and wants to help if there's any way out there to do so. Pike warns her that a mission like that takes time, and this is where La'an formally requests a leave of absence, saying that she could be decommissioned if he wanted to, but she had to go where the clues take her. Pike not jokingly asks if it would have made a difference if he had said no, and she says no, basically, and he says, well, I'll try to square it with Starfleet. He does ask her to come back, and she addresses him by his first name before thanking him. Then we cut to a scene of Uhura taking one last look at the bridge, with her looking at the communication station.
Okay, no. This scene with La'an, I think I have complained about her a lot over the season, even though I really like her character. However, this scene just reinforces my thinking, like, what even is the point of her as far as making her a Noonien Singh?
Yeah, we haven't seen anything.
Now, it could be something brings her back to the Enterprise in season 2. Maybe they already have a plan. But again, I'm just going to say, if they don't do anything with Khan, what even is the point of making her a Noonien Singh? There is none if this is it for her. And I don't think it will be, but...
Yeah. Well, it's not, because we have seen photographs of her from season 2.
Well, that's good. So hopefully we'll still get a resolution to why she's around.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, we've seen pictures. They haven't really tipped it off, but we've seen pictures. We know she's in season 2. Parallel universe or anything, we don't know. We just know that she's there.
Yeah, it would be kind of odd if they did not do a mirror episode in Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
I hope they do. I think it could be cool.
Depending on what they did with it, I think it could be, yeah. Now, I do got to say that I am excited because I've already seen it, but I can't wait for you to watch next week's finale. Did you have any nitpicks or picking of nits that you wanted to do this week?
I mean, aside from like the blatant playing up of Alien and Predator and a little bit of Jurassic Park, no. I thought it was a definitely better than last episode.
Yes, I'm definitely going to give it that.
Because, again, last episode just felt more like a Next Generation episode, which really felt out of place in these first 9.
It was the most standouty of the bunch. I thought this one was kind of cool because if you go back and you watch a lot of the original season 1 episodes of the original series, they border on horror movie episode tropes as often as not, and almost making the original first season feel like the Twilight Zone more than anything else.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, so I did like that they kind of veered into horror with this one. The only nits I really had to pick that I wanted to get to was going to be the ship, but I think we beat that up pretty well already.
Yeah.
So I've got one piece of viewer mail if we're done with that. This actually comes from a comment on YouTube from a guy calling himself Chig Bungus. He says, please breathe into the mic some more. I really love it. It definitely isn't distracting at all. It's from one of the episodes where I was recovering from COVID. And I said, no, you perverts need to stop trying to get me to do ASMR for free. You need to pay for the service like everyone else does. So, that is my response. Hey, Chris, where are we headed next week?
Oh, you are in luck. So, again, the action next week begins on a dilapidated starship, much like this week. An accursed lady and a shadowy lieutenant / maybe captain are attracted to each other. But she is abducted by a deathless machine. This shadowy lieutenant / captain must join up with Pike to find her and go home. Wonder who that could be.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not as exciting as some of the previous ones, but I really feel like maybe this time the description of the episode is kind of downplaying how awesome it'll be.
Yeah, they might be doing some real understatement here. Trying to lull you into a sense of like, oh, okay, this will be kind of like a downbeat, just quiet episode, Well, everybody, if you have any questions, comments, or theories you want to run by us, hit us up at our website at strangenewtrek.com or follow the links in the show notes for the episodes in your podcast app of choice. Please rate and review us, / like and subscribe to us wherever you listen to us at. It's one small step for you, but a giant leap for the show. I'd like to give special thanks to Miguel Esparza for the Strange New Trek theme, and Will Harding for all his work over on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to set your phasers to stun and join us next time when we're on to the next planet of the week.